Hi everyone, welcome to Great Books, Big Ideas. I'm Jim. Thanks for joining me. Today I want to launch into our Great Ideas Today series and go volume by volume, and we're going to give you walkthroughs or book tours of these volumes to show you what they're all about. If you're interested in buying one, you can see what the contents are. I'll give you some reactions to the volumes that I've read, point out some highlights and so forth. And this will give you a little bit of a sense of what people were talking about back in the day as they discussed great ideas and great books. These volumes were issued annually from 1961 to 1998 by Britannica. They were supplements to the Great Books of the Western World sets. And they are very interesting. And I'm going to start. Well, there's an overview video of this that you can watch. I'll link to in the show description. But today we're going to start with the very first year in the series, and that's 1961. So let's go over to the book cam, and we'll have a look at this interesting volume.
Okay, let's have a look through the Great Ideas Today, 1961. These would have come with dust jackets, and I'll share an image of the dust jacket on the screen. The foreword here explains what the series was all about. And here we have our table of contents. Now, part one begins with a debate. The great debate of the year: is democracy the best form of government for the newly formed nations? And you have two voices here, William O. Douglas and Peregrine Worsthorne, the case for and the case against. You have a little bit of an introduction here, and then we get into Douglas's defense of democracy. William Douglas was an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court. So you can see these volumes are illustrated. And it's quite a lengthy argument that Douglas makes. And here is the case against democracy by Peregrine Worsthorne. Now, he is a Brit, or was a Brit, born in 1923. So the idea here is to just debate an idea. And then generally what happens at the end of these sections, there will be a note to the reader where the editors say, hey, if you want to pursue these ideas in your great book set, here's where to find them. Here's how they're indexed in the Syntopicon. Okay. Now, part two of the volume is a review of the year, the previous year. So here's what's going on. An analysis of three developments in world affairs. 17 new nations, colonialism comes to an end, the great game, America elects a president, and youth, the young go boom. So you get an interesting article about colonialism, post-colonialism, which was just starting up. And notice we have color illustrations too, which is kind of nice. So lots of history of colonialism in Africa. And here is an article about the presidential campaign. Kennedy and Nixon. I believe this was the first televised debate, presidential debate. And here's an article about the youth. The teenage plunge reached new heights or depths in all directions over the world. Interesting. This is even before the Beatles, before Beatlemania. They're talking about the youth, the younger generation. Part 3 is an overview or a review of the year's developments in the arts and sciences. And these are some of my favorite parts in these volumes. So we've got literature, physical sciences and technology, social sciences and law, biological sciences and medicine, and philosophy and religion, all written by experts in the field, their respective field. The first is by Mark Van Doren, who was very involved in the Great Books movement. He was also a literary editor of The Nation. He taught at Columbia and was a poet and critic and editor himself. So what's great about these is how you can read about authors who were like in the discourse at the time, and there's a great time capsules. It's interesting here that they start off with Lawrence Durrell, an author that I've been reading, and I'm just about to start reading this one, Clea. Kingsley Amis is talked about, Martin Green, Laurie Lee. Some of these authors are going to be familiar to us, others have fallen through the cracks. William Golding, Paul Goodman, William Styron, John Hersey, James Leo Herlihy, John Updike, James Purdy. Updike was just at the beginning of his career. Thomas Merton, C.P. Snow, Pamela Hansford Johnson, Giuseppe di Lampedusa, John O'Hara, Morley Callahan. All of these are people talked about. Here's some women authors: Flannery O'Connor, Harper Lee, Vinnie Williams, Pirandello, Jessamine West, Elizabeth Spencer, Frederick Proch, John Barth, H.E. Bates, Roald Dahl, Joyce Carey, I.A. Richards, W.H. Auden. A lot of authors talked about here. We even harken back to Emily Dickinson. You know, the complete poems of Emily Dickinson was published, not so long before this volume was published. Andre Schwartz Bart, Elie Wiesel, Vladimir Dudintsev, Frisa Stark, S.N. Berman. And we even have a section here on the world of film. So Ingmar Bergman is discussed, The Seventh Seal. And then another wonderful feature of these great ideas today are the massive bibliographies. And these are just great resources. So you can see all these authors who are covered there, plus the note to the reader. So it's like, again, cross-references to ideas that were discussed in the article. Here's where you can find more about these ideas in the great book set. On to physical sciences and technology. This was written by Walter Sullivan. And we have discussion of gravity. I find these science overviews really helpful because I'm not a scientist or mathematician, And these are written in such a way as to help me to understand what was going on. They're pretty accessible. Developments in weather science. Upper atmosphere and the moon. The planets. Van Allen radiation belts, the sun. Astronomy of the galaxies. And then we move to biological sciences and space research. Carbon-14 dating. You can learn a lot from these volumes. Geologic time. You can see there's graphs, there's charts, diagrams, and a nice bibliography. So these will these contain very nice annotations to each of these entries. Let's move on to Social Sciences and Law. This was written by Edward A. Shils, professor of social sciences at University of Chicago. And looks like they're talking about consensus and social order, Max Weber. Some talk about politics and mass society. So here they're trying to put contemporary times into context and relate them to great ideas, great writers, great thinkers of the past. Mass culture, intellectuals and ideology, modern society and the family, the need for the study of tradition, class structure, consensus in the new nations, economic growth, renaissance of the comparative method, theory of action. A lot to chew on here. And again, an extensive bibliography. And it's fun to scan through the names to see how many of these you recognize and how many you don't. Then we move on to Biological Sciences and Medicine by Gilbert Kant, medicine editor of Time magazine. Some interesting info on viruses, genetics and heredity, anthropology and psychology, beginnings of civilization, new theories of mind. You get a lot for your money in these volumes. Progress in medicine and immunization, afflictions of the aged, effects of climate and weather on health, infectious diseases, diseases of the heart and arteries, diseases of the kidney, cancer, special investigations on porpoises, biological clocks, birds, problems of classification, insects, crabs, photosynthesis, animal sensitivity, life on other planets. And again, a nice annotated bibliography. And then on to Philosophy and Religion by George Grant, Canadian. Let's see who they talk about in the philosophy article. It looks like Rudolf Carnap, Ludwig Wittgenstein, W.V. Quine, am I pronouncing that right? Gustav Bergman, P.F. Strawson, Etienne Gilson. And we have moral and political philosophy, C.D. Broad. And then a section on religion. Mircea Eliade, D.T. Suzuki, talking about Eastern religions here, Judaism, origins of Christianity. Looks like they're talking about the Dead Sea Scrolls. Religious theory. Pierre Teilhard de Chardin. And a bibliography, not with annotations though. And then, once you get through all that, you get on to official additions to the Great Books Library. So you could see these as just, okay, you've got your Great Book set, but now these are new editions. And obviously they're going to be shorter works. So they start with John Dewey, Experience and Education. Now, John Dewey was criticized by Robert Maynard Hutchins, especially in his Great Conversation essay at the front of the Great Book set. But they do give Dewey his due, and they recognize that he was a major thinker. And this is his entrance into the Great Book set, Experience and Education. Just because you debate someone doesn't mean you have to cancel them. And here we have Great Ideas of Western Man, another color insert. These are, I'll have to show these to you someday. These are great. These were almost like, I think it was the Container Corporation of America sponsored these. And you can get, they're like posters you can hang up. And I have a whole set of them, a whole bunch of them. Oh, it's cool that they included these, a sampling of them. Okay, the Dewey article continues. And then we go on to Albert Einstein, Relativity, the Special and General Theory, translated by Robert W. Lawson, undoubtedly a major work of 20th century science and math. It's great that they include this. It's illustrated too. And it's got all the equations. And then we go on to Molière, The School for Wives, translated by Maurice Bishop. French drama. I have not read this play. Interesting selection. And again, more illustrations in these volumes than you would get in your basic Great Books set, your default set. And then Arnold J. Toynbee, 3 essays. Let's see what they include. Does history repeat itself? The unification of the world and the change in historical perspective, and civilization on trial. A lot of bang for your buck. That's the Great Ideas Today, 1961. Okay, that's just a quick run through of the Great Ideas Today, 1961, the first in the set. And I hope you enjoyed that quick tour. Sorry if some of the focus was a little fuzzy there. I'll work on that. But at least it gives you an idea of what the contents of this volume are and the additions to the Great Book Library. In our next in the series, we'll do 1962. Thanks for watching, and let me know your thoughts about the authors included here, like some of the things that were going on back in the day. If you've read this volume, you're always welcome to make comments. I really do enjoy reading the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next Great Books, Big Ideas video. Thanks for watching, folks. Bye-bye.